Hey everybody, it's Zach. Welcome back to the Heroverse, and guys, welcome back with another review. In today's review, we're going to be reviewing My Hero Academia You're Next. As you guys can tell, I'm not usually in my normal studio. I'm actually back in my old filming stomping grounds. This is actually where I filmed all my movie reviews back in the day, but I actually filmed my movie reviews at my new studio. So we were back in the old studio, and this is kind of like a quick put together video so I could give my quick sum up because I was going to do an Elda Theater review of this movie, but I didn't get the opportunity to do so because my sister showed up outside the theater and she didn't want to wait, and I just had to leave. And I decided, you know what, I'll just kind of put my camera up like how I used to, like when I first started YouTube, and kind of just give my thoughts on the movie. So this is very, very old school for me. This is kind of how I started doing my YouTube videos. I don't really make them like this anymore, but I thought it would be fun, and I don't want to wait to give my thoughts on this movie. So like I said, I saw this movie at Cinemark, which I had a really, 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 really great time at Cinemark. Cinemark isn't a theater I usually go to see movies. Every once in a while, I will go. So I had a decision because right when tickets went up, after the English dub trailer for this movie, the only theater that was playing English dubbed was Cinemark, my local Cinemark. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. Luxury seating. The seats recline. Let's fucking go. And the other option, when it came closer to the release of the movie, AMC got the movie, but it wasn't going to be in a luxury theater. It could have just been in one of their, smaller theaters. I said, you know what, I don't want to do it. I'm going to keep my seats for the luxury and have that luxury experience. So I had a blast of a time. On top of that, I don't know if it was just a Cinemark exclusive thing, but they did actually have My Hero Academia You're Next popcorn buckets and collector's cups, which was really, really cool. Here is my collector's cup. I'm going to show you guys what it looks like. And I don't know if this is just a Cinemark thing or it's any theater that's going to be playing this movie, but this, of course, is what the collector's cup looks like. Of course, it says My Hero Academia You're Next, as all the characters on the cup right there, including some of the new characters like Gilio, I think his name is, and also Anna, if I'm correct, or Anna. I believe it's Anna. Correct me if I'm wrong. And like I said, I thought that was really, really cool, and it has, of course, some of the main core characters on the side that I would say have a pretty big roles in this movie. Of course, of Bakugo, Deku, and also Uraraka and Shoto. So that's really, really cool that they're on the cup right there. I really, really do like how they're on the cup. And like I said, this is the front of the cup. And they actually did have the popcorn bucket as well, which I thought was cool. It says, of course, My Hero Academia, You're Next on it. And here is the back of the tin right here. This is like a plastic bucket. Of course, as Uraraka, as Shoto, as Bakugo, as Deku. So this is really, really cool. I actually got two collector's cups and one popcorn bucket. My brother is keeping the popcorn bucket and he's keeping the collector's cup, and I have my collector's cup right there. So really, really cool. Like I said, I was not expecting that they were going to have collector's cups and popcorn buckets, but I'm very, very glad that they did, because when I went to go see World Heroes Mission, back when it came out, they actually gave these cool little was it manga books of World Heroes Mission, which I thought was really, really cool. They gave these out World Heroes Mission, and actually, funny enough, that was the first My Hero movie I went to was World Heroes Mission, and I was just blown away. The fans, the energy, it truly felt like an event. Now, mind you, when I went to go see this movie, I thought since it was going to be a packed house, that the energy would be really, really kind of like to match the same energy of World Heroes Mission. It didn't really match the same energy, but I really, really met this nice girl that was sitting next to me. Her name was Star, I believe. So, correct me if I'm wrong, Star. I know you subscribed to my channel, and if you're watching this, hi, Star. It was very, very nice meeting you. You were very, very nice, and I love talking to you about anime, Marvel, and more. Truly, truly, you were really, really cool. So great experience. And that's one of the experiences I wanted to have going to another My Hero movie, was actually getting to talk to fellow fans of My Hero, and I really, really had a blast of a time talking to Star. So, like I said, thank you, Star, and thank you also for subscribing. But yeah, great experience, talking to a fellow My Hero fan. But also, like I said, just watching this movie, I thought it was a really, really fun time. Now, mind you, this movie does take place in season 6, right after Deku's Rogue arc. So that's when this movie does take place. And mind you, I've had a very hard time, believing that this movie is in canon, but it is in canon. Mind you, this isn't in the manga. This is a new story. This isn't mentioned in season 7. So it's very, very confusing that the events that happen in this movie aren't mentioned at all in season 7. It's very, very hard to believe, especially because when I keep thinking about it, when you have All For One out there, when you have Shigaraki out there, it's very hard to believe that they would be okay with having a Dark All Might out there causing mayhem, and they would be okay with it. Someone to challenge their strength. It's like I don't know if they would be okay with that. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of in the thoughts of saying, you know what, this is one of those movies where the maker of My Hero just wanted to have fun, and this movie was just kind of like you just have to go into the movie kind of be like it won't make sense, because again, something as big as this should have been mentioned, but like I said, it was kind of an afterthought story because we're already deep in season 7. So it's kind of like one of those things where like it didn't they didn't time it right, where they could have been like, oh, let's, after Deku's Rogue arc in season 6, before we go into season 7, let's do this movie and then go into season 7. That's what they kind of should have done, but this was kind of like a, at the heat of the moment, something that the creator came up with, and they made this movie. I had a blast of a time. Like I said, having a Dark All Might I thought was such a cool concept. Now, mind you, if it would have been a little bit more, if it felt like they would have approached it like in a different way, I thought it would have been better. Like I said, if after Deku's Rogue arc, this actually like they release this movie and then we continue, and then Shigaraki, All For One, and all of them mention it, and even the Class A mentions it. I thought that would have been better, but we're not going to have that. So this movie, you just got to go in and be like, okay, it's going to be this one thing. It's probably never going to be mentioned, which I don't think it is going to ever be mentioned. Who knows? Maybe in season 8 it will be mentioned. I don't know. But the fact of it is I just love the concept of having a bad All Might. I just thought that was really, really cool. So I do got to say that was probably one of the highlights. And this All Might is such a diva, which I really, really like. That just is like, oh, took All Mights that, oh, it's your turn, literally, and said, oh, I'm going to be the symbol of peace. I'm going to be the symbol of hope. And he takes it in a total different direction, where he's like, my power is going to be, that's what made All Might so great, and that's what made people fear him, was his power and all that stuff. He's like taking the wrong message from All Might, and he's being evil. And I love the idea that that was his motivation, is like, oh, I took it literal that, All Might said, "Oh, it's your turn, and it is my turn." And I just love the idea of that, having a bad All Might and what that could bring about, kind of All Might being the symbol of peace, and how that could be tainted by someone, impersonating him and trying to be him, but also kind of ruin all the great work he's done of being a hero. I just love the concept of that, especially of someone that all these heroes look up to. They have to now fight that person that they looked up to, or a version of that person. So it's I really love the concept of that, and I thought it was a really, really fun concept. So I thought that was cool, having like this diva evil All Might. I thought that was very, very cool. Now, like I said, the new characters of Giulio and also Anna, again, I think those are the characters' names. They were okay. I definitely find that I like, I think his name was, what was it? What was it? I don't know if it was in World Heroes Mission. I don't know. I think his name was Brody, or yeah, Brody. I really liked Brody, that new character, way more than Giulio, in my personal opinion. I thought Brody was really, really cool, and that was a character I always wanted to see again in either in the show or even in another movie. I really, really like that character. Now, mind you, I don't think we're ever probably going to see that character again, but never say never. Maybe we'll see him somehow in season 8, because my brother did make a good point saying, World Heroes Mission took place, I think, in Europe. I believe it wasn't in Japan. It took place in a different country. So, you know what I mean? It made sense why that's why, we haven't seen someone like Brody again. But I'm really, really hoping that we do kind of get to see that character at some point again, because like I said, I found that I enjoyed that character more and I connected to that character more than me feeling like I had an attachment to Gilio, even though he is a really cool character. He has this kind of robotic arm that is able to like shoot missiles and shit, and he has this really really cool bike that reminds me of the I think it's the Akira bike, and it's like the bike looked like one for one. So I thought that was really really cool, but I thought that was a character that I really didn't feel like I was attached to. And like I said, the character, Anna, I really, really liked. I loved her and Gilio's, connection that they had, and why, and what the reasoning was, why Gilio was doing what he was doing, and kind of like what their history was. I did like all that. I thought that was cool. But like I said, wasn't one of those things where I felt like super invested in, and I felt like I just didn't feel as like attached to that storyline and those characters, unlike all the other movies when we got introduced to new characters. So like I said, that kind of fell flat for me. But other than that, I thought the action was really, really good. I loved the concept of a Dark All Might. And it was one of those movies where it's like you could tell that they just wanted to have fun with this movie. And even though they knew going into this movie, it kind of someone as powerful as this kind of villain popping up and not being mentioned, knowing that it really all the fans are going to be like, this doesn't make sense. Why wasn't this mentioned? It's one of those things where you just again have to go in and be like, okay, this is just it is what it is. It's a thing. It's a cool concept, but it's a one and done. It doesn't really need to be mentioned. It happens. It's one of those things where you just kind of have to go into the movie just like kind of knowing that this probably will never get mentioned and it's its own thing. But when you take it as that, you really kind of just have a fun time with this movie. Now, mind you, this movie, it was 1 hour and 50 minutes. I can't lie. I was at the point where sometimes of the movie, I was kind of like, oh, are we going to get to like the next part? Like, are we going to get to the villain's evil schemes? Like, are we going to get to that part? Or are we going to get that cool, like I was just waiting for that kind of cool, triumphant Deku moment. Now, mind you, eventually those moments do happen, but it feels like it takes a long time to get there. So I was kind of like irritated a bit. I was kind of like, okay, are we going to actually get to that point? But we eventually did get to that point. But I felt like it did take a while for like the villain to kind of get there. So sometimes it did feel like the story was dragging on a lot longer than it needed to. So I feel like that was kind of just the story kind of not really needing to be 1 hour and 50 minutes. It honestly felt like it was almost like 2 hours, the movie. It felt like it was like a 2 hour film. Um, and like I said, and I do feel like that was maybe a problem. And I don't remember how long the other movies are, but the other movies I think are paced so well that I feel like you just don't notice the runtime. And if anything, you're kind of like satisfied when you get to the end. When we got to the end of this movie, I was kind of like, we got cool moments, we got some cool fight sequences, we got some cool visuals, but I felt like at the end of the movie, I wasn't as satisfied as I was watching the other three previous movies, like Tale of Two. Yeah, what was it? Tale of Two Heroes, Heroes Rising, World Heroes Mission. I feel like those movies structurally are better than this movie. I feel like this movie was just them wanting to have fun, and really, it just felt like the whole they were like I feel like they kind of just went were too giddy at the fact that they were doing a bad All Might, that they weren't really focusing on the structure of the film. And it kind of felt like it didn't need to be as long as it was, in my personal opinion. But like I said, I still had a really, really great time with this film. I thought it was a fun time. And I just always love spending time with these characters. And there was a lot of funny moments in this movie, specifically with Bakugo, of course. He had me cracking up in this movie, as Bakugo always does. The comedic timing with Bakugo was probably some of the best parts of this movie, on top of the action and on top of there being a bad All Might. But like I said, structurally, I felt like they got too carried away with the bad All Might, and it kind of fell flat on getting in and getting out. Like telling the story and not wasting too much time. It kind of felt like it was dragging on. You know what I mean? It did feel like that when I was watching it, and it did feel very long. Like I said, mind you, I had to get up and go to the bathroom, which I never have to do, but I felt that way when I was in the movie. I was like, I was like, I actually have to go to the bathroom. I never really have to go to the bathroom. And I was like, okay, like, and usually when I have to go to the bathroom, I won't get up. But at the moment, I was like, it feels like it's going to take us a minute to kind of get to that ending. I'll just get up and go now. And when I got back, I knew exactly what was going on. So it's like, like me getting up out of the theater at the time I got up and coming back, I actually still knew what was going on, which I was glad about that. Because I would have been pissed if I kind of didn't know what was going on when I got back, but I did. So like, I was really, really happy about that. But like I said, it feels like that it didn't need to be as long as the movie was. I felt like it could have been a little bit shorter. I felt like it could have been structurally a little bit better of a movie. But like I said, the action was still great. Comedic elements by Bakugo were great. The comedic timing, like I said, even the characters all interacting with Deku, because like I said, this takes place after the Rogue arc. So them kind of like, being like amazed at Deku's powers and his abilities was really, really cool to hear them talk about his abilities like that, because they're actually now getting to they now know that, of course, he is the successor of, All Might, and they're really getting to admire his powers. So I thought that was really, really, really cool hearing them talk about his powers. Like, oh my God, that's so cool that, you know what I mean, that you're able to do that. And like, oh, well, like, and what else can you do and stuff like that. So I thought that was really cool. And so like stuff like that I did enjoy, because it feels like, okay, yeah, this definitely takes place right after the Rogue arc. But it was very weird to me to sit there watching right after Deku's Rogue arc when we're so deep in season 7, where it's kind of like, we know, like, some characters had limbs that don't have limbs anymore in season 7. So I was like, when I was watching the movie, I was like, oh, you don't have a limb anymore, and you're missing an eyeball. Like, you know what I mean? Or like, it's just, it was funny to me just to kind of point out the things that I know that eventually happen to some characters, and some, I'm not gonna say who, but some deaths that happen in the new season, or death that happens in the new season. Hopefully that character ends up surviving. I don't know. I watch dub, so it might take me a minute. Maybe you guys might be ahead of me if you watch subbed of season 7, but you know what I mean? As of right now, one of the characters are dead in season 7. I'm kind of like, I hope you come back. So it was very weird seeing it from that perspective of like, oh my God, this is weird seeing this character like this, when I know what the kind of end, or kind of like the state of the character is right now in the new season. So that was very weird. And I'm curious to know what you guys thought about that now that we're in season 7 and this movie takes place before season 7. What is your thoughts on that? Like, when you saw some characters, you're like, oh, I'm happy to see you like this, but I know what state you're in right now, because this is in the past, this movie, and we're way in the present of where these characters are now. So I'm curious to know, like, what did you guys think about that? But like I said, I wouldn't say at any means this was a bad movie. I just felt like it could have been structurally better. And I think the other 3 previous movies are definitely structured better, in my personal opinion. Like I said, great action. You know what I mean? Great comedic timing, great voice acting, of course, by everyone. Seriously, especially Justin Briner. Like I said, Deku's my favorite, and I think Justin Briner just keeps killing it in that role as Deku. Speaking of which, I'm actually hopefully going to be meeting Justin Briner sometime this December for GalaxyCon. Super, super excited. He's going to be showing up, and I would love to get like an autograph by him, and I would love to actually get a picture with him. So, and kind of tell him what that character means to me, because really Deku, that character, what that character stands for, really means the world to me. So I can't wait to like talk to him about it. Hopefully I'll get the opportunity to actually speak to him for a little bit. But like I said, great voice acting, great action, great visuals, and great comedic timing by a lot of the characters, especially Bakugo. And like I said, great for what, like a kind of great one-off villain with this bad All Might. I thought that was cool. The concept is such a cool concept. Like, what would it be like if like All Might was bad? We got this here. I mean, you could say really like, oh, what if you could technically say like, oh, what, like we already kind of have that scenario of like, what if an All Might was bad? Because the sort of kind of the powers of like, one for all and all for one. You know what I mean? I guess you guys can kind of say that we kind of are dealing with a villain like that right now in My Hero, and also with Shigaraki and stuff. But actually having someone that looks like All Might being bad was such a cool concept. But like I said, Didn't hate the movie, but I didn't really love the movie. But it definitely had its moments. Had the visuals and everything were there. But I'm really curious to know what you guys think of My Hero Academia You're Next. Is this going to be a movie that you're going out to see? Is this movie maybe you already saw? And if you did see this movie, what did you think? Do you think where would you rank this movie amongst the three previous movies? Would you say that this is at the top? Would you say that this is at the middle? Since this movie, like I said, I think I kind of made up my mind even going into this movie, just structurally, like, again, that we are so far in season 7 and the fact that this villain's never been mentioned, I kind of knew that this movie probably was not going to top World Heroes Mission, wasn't going to top Tale of Two Heroes, wasn't going to top Heroes Rising. Those movies are just so the goosebumps I got watching those movies and the tears that I've shed, like, you know what I mean? Like, watching those movies truly mean the world to me. And I just feel like that this movie just didn't hit it, which I'm okay with because, like I said, this was like a one-off that's probably never going to get acknowledged in the series. But I'm okay with that. But I'm curious to know what you guys have to say. Again, here, if you're new to the channel, subscribe to the channel, post notifications, like this video. I am almost to 1,000 subscribers. That is the goal, to hit 1,000. We are so close. Right now, we are at 9. I'm going to say 73 or 74. Crazy how close we are. But I'm curious to know. Let me know all your thoughts. Of course, non-spoiler about what you guys thought about My Hero Academia You're Next. But as always, guys, I hope everybody has a great day, a safe day, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.